Starting a business looks exciting. Behind the scenes, it's full of uncertainty, mistakes, and hard decisions. I'm Kriti Ruparan. On the Business Blueprint podcast, entrepreneurs share their highs and lows and how they practically applied real business school lessons while building their companies. This is real conversation and practical learning. Welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast. This is where we uncover practical business lessons from entrepreneurs to help you build a stronger business. I'm your host, Preeti Ruparan, and today's lesson is something I deeply believe in. No entrepreneur succeeds alone. A few episodes ago, we spoke about strategic partnerships and collaboration and their importance. No matter how strong, talented, and intelligent you are, building a business is never a solo journey. One of the hashtags that I use on LinkedIn, which most of you would have observed, is teamwork makes the dream work. And this is a hashtag that I don't use for training purposes. This is a philosophy I believe in. So, whether you are starting a business, managing a project, leading a team, or organizing an event, success is always the result of people who believe in you, who support you, mentor you, challenge you, open doors for you, and cheer you on along the way. As entrepreneurs, we need customers, we need suppliers, investors, fellow founders, mentors, and we also need people whom I would like to call as bridge builders. Well, bridge builders are those who have excellent matchmaking skills and they connect you with the right resources, funding programs, right mentors, opportunities, partnerships, and communities. And that changes the trajectory of your business. So, in the previous episode, we had our speaker, Samantha Ong from Joey Dolls, and she spoke very highly about the fantastic support that she received from Y Spaces Ella program. The mentorship, the community engagement, the guidance all helped her to navigate the entrepreneurial journey and helped her to build Joey Dolls. So, when I reflected on this conversation, I realized something that we have always heard the story from the founder's perspective. But what about the people behind these incredible entrepreneurship programs? What have they learned from supporting hundreds of founders? What patterns do they see? And what separates entrepreneurs who simply participate in the programs and those who truly maximize and leverage every opportunity? And that's exactly what we are exploring today. Our guest for today is Marlena Ramchandran, Program Lead for Y-Space Ella, a national women's entrepreneurship program at York University, supporting women entrepreneurs across Canada. With more than a decade of experience building entrepreneurship ecosystems, Marlena has dedicated her career to connecting founders with mentors, partnerships, resources, and the right opportunities to help them start, grow, and scale successful businesses. Marlena also serves on the board of the Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. So let's welcome Marlena. Marlena, welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast.
Thanks so much, Preeti. So excited to be here today.
Marlena, you have spent your career building entrepreneurship ecosystems rather than building just one company yourself. So, what attracted you to this work and what inspired your passion for supporting entrepreneurs?
That's a great question to start off today's session with, Preeti. It's very interesting because this is not something that I was attracted to from day one. In fact, after completing my management studies, like any other management graduate, I was looking to work with the top five, travel places and do a nice 9 to 5 job and stuff like that. But once I got into the corporate sector, I very quickly realized that that was not for me because in big organizations, what really happens is you do things one on one, and there's only a small task or a project which is assigned to somebody. So I used to get bored pretty fast. And entrepreneurship, to be honest, happened to me by chance. I got headhunted into it while I was in international education industry. But what I realized was once I got into it in 2011, there's been no looking back. And I know that this is something which I love doing. And that brings me to the question of what's attractive about it. I think the constant highs and lows and the excitement of waking up to a new challenge every day. So in the entrepreneur world, no single day is the same. And I think that's what excites me about working in this entire environment.
I completely empathize because it feels that you're a problem solver for them. They come to you with different business needs, and you're trying to be the bridge builder and problem solver, even in a way, a mentor, so that they can pay forward in their entrepreneurial journey. I think there's a certain rush that you feel because you're making a difference, a positive difference, like it's a positive impact that you're making for them. So, Malina, you started your career in India and you've had good exposure in India and in Canada working with entrepreneurs. Looking back on your journey, Malina, what has entrepreneurship taught you about people?
I've learned a lot of things, because this is a people's relationship profile. I'm working with founders day in and day out. But if I really have to differentiate someone with an entrepreneurial mindset, these are people who are always looking for something to solve, could be a problem. They're looking for gaps. They're not usually the ones who sit and complain, but they're the ones who go and do something about it. And then in the process, money is a byproduct. Also, I've realized that it's not very easy to be an entrepreneur. So there are founders who will get excited about being an entrepreneur, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. The best entrepreneurs that I've worked with are very resilient, extremely humble, very intelligent, who know what their business is about, and they put it all in to really build their business. So that's what I know, and I think they are a very exciting breed. I love being around them all the time. A lot of that excitement rubs off me in general as well.
Yeah, I think that's the energy they also bring. It's a certain zest that brings even in your job as well as to help them as part of your entrepreneurship programs. So has there been a particular founder or perhaps a business that completely changed how you think about entrepreneurship?
I don't think I'll be doing justice if I talk about any one founder. I think over the years, it's the patterns that I have seen by working with different founders, and that's what I would like to talk about. I think one of the strongest things that stands out to me is the passion that founders have for what they are taking up. Many a times, it's about letting go of something to make sure that the idea they're working on really gains ground. So they have to balance out, there's something, someone has to suffer. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's health, but the real founders, they are the ones who really, really push themselves once they believe in a product or a service or an idea, and they really go all out. So those are the ones that excite me the most. They're also the ones who I've seen are extremely resilient. So, COVID happened, sometimes economic uncertainties happen, but they are the ones who really manage to find a way. They are very quick to pivot when things happen, and they find a way to make it work. And those are the ones who I believe would, in the long run, be successful as well, because it comes back to the same term that you mentioned. It's problem solving, right? I don't think problems ever get over, whether you are a founder or in personal life, but how you deal with them, how you approach them is what differentiates you from anyone else.
And somehow, as you're answering, I find it kind of resonates this in my podcast journey, Marlena. There have been problems, but you have to learn to figure it out and come up with the right solution and navigate and understand the right support that you can find out. Like, it's not a solo journey for me, Marlena. In fact, as you're answering, I feel like, okay, you're also talking about my podcast journey.
Well, you are an entrepreneur in that sense, anyways, right?
Yeah. And it is true. Like, founders in the beginning think that they have to hustle this on their own. They have to figure it out on their own. And that's not true. It is because this kind of slows down the growth. You need the support, you need to have that collaborative approach and reach out to the right people. So, well, I can resonate from my podcast journey, but why do you think there's a mindset of people that they have to figure it out themselves in resolving issues, in building their business, and this mindset actually slows down their growth?
Yeah. So, it's like a chicken and egg story. Like, someone becomes an entrepreneur, usually, of course, the reason is they identify some problem and work on it. But I think often another reason is that they want to make their own decisions, they want to work their own way, they have this certain way of thinking which they feel only they understand, and that's what makes some of the best entrepreneurs, because they have taken the road not taken and work towards it. However, sometimes what happens is it's very tricky, but founders need to understand that they don't need to do everything on their own, because like you mentioned, it's going to slow their growth. They will grow, they will make mistakes, they will learn, they will figure it out if they're a founder. But if they go to someone else who's already been there, done it, and take lessons from there, their journey just becomes so much faster, right? You must have heard that saying that, ordinary people learn from their own mistakes, but geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. So it's genuinely like that. Like when someone's been there, done it, and those lessons are available, why would you not want to take them, right? And the smart founders, in fact, that I've seen are the ones who know who they have to reach out to. They know what help they will need from them. They understand their expertise. And they will also understand from all the advice that comes to them, what should they really pick and choose from that advice, which is then applicable to their own business. So they will go out, they will listen. They will still end of the day follow what their heart and mind says, but it's always nice to bounce off everything that you do against people who've already been there and done it.
Like when I attend so many networking events, including Y Space events, I have come across so many mentors who have shared, like, they like to share their school of hard knocks and lessons with the founders, especially the early stage founders, so that they don't do the same mistakes. That's what I like about the entrepreneurship programs that they offer, the support to connect with the right individuals and the subject matter experts. And it's not just about funding. But most of the entrepreneurs whom I have come across, especially the early stage founders, they think that an incubator or an accelerator is only about funding, which is important. But there are other avenues of offerings that is available through these programs. So, what are some of those misconceptions that founders have for entrepreneurship programs that you have met, and how have you enlightened them as to what resources they can leverage on to thrive in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I've seen two kinds. One are the ones, of course, who think of an accelerator program as their gateway to some high-end funding, and they feel that once they are in it, this is it. And then there's the other set of founders who don't even understand what an accelerator program will do for them. So for either of them, the reality is that ideally any accelerator program, and I, for the purpose of this conversation, I'll focus on Space and Ella. The aim is to help the founder become a better entrepreneur and to build a strong foundation for their business, whether they are launching their business or whether they're scaling their business. Like, to give you an example, there could be an entrepreneur who could be amazing in their go to market and customer acquisition strategy. That's not a problem because they come from that background. However, they are scared of looking at what their finances and operations look like. And sometimes when you do a deep dive, we may realize that, oh, this is not even cash flow positive, and it doesn't make sense to take such a founder to an investor. On the other side, there could be founders who are very critical thinkers. They think a lot and they just don't take the plunge at the right time. So each founder has their own unique strengths and their own unique gaps that could be worked on. An accelerator's role is, while giving them strong foundations, giving them access to business knowledge, creating a larger access to them for mentors and the community in general, also work with them on their mindset and help them look at questions that they may have never asked themselves about, but prepare them for the world outside. So for us, it is like if a founder comes to us at an A point in journey, it's about in the 4 or 5 months that the founder is in our program, how can we take this founder from A to B? It could be a small jump, it could be increase in revenue, it could be increase in number of customers, or at the very least, just the change in the mindset that they have in terms of how they are looking at their business.
You also kind of answered my next question as to what kind of support you provide to entrepreneurs in the ELA program. But if there's any additional information you would like to share with our listeners on the Ella program.
Yeah, so while all this support is there, and if you speak to anybody from any incubator or accelerator, they will talk about similar standardized supports. But I think how we differentiate ourselves in Ella specifically is any founder that comes to us, we do a really deep dive on first is where are they and what support do they really need, and is Ella the right program for them? They only come into the program if there is a program founder fit. And once they come in, the way we've built our program is not only do they get access to just workshops and access to mentors and community, we have built lot of tools that they can work with. So for example, we have created a playbook that they will work with from day one, and this playbook becomes their framework for any big decision that they will take around their business in future. So the playbook has different business domains. We then go through each aspect of the playbook with them in detail, and then we have ongoing conversations with them. What we also do, which is different from other programs, is, once founders are out of the program, we don't let go of them. So we've launched something called an Ella Legacy program where, we select five alumni year on year who come back to us. And then at that point of time, if they need any customized support, let's say they need access to some connection, or, they're bidding a contract for a government. So they need someone to review that. So we go all out to give them that level of customized support and help them in really taking their business to the next level.
It's pretty impressive, the legacy program. So it's like you never say a no to any entrepreneur and you help them no matter what and making a difference. So that's pretty impressive, Malina. Now, there are entrepreneurs who, talked about the program offerings that are available across incubators and accelerators. And there are some who simply attend these workshops just for the sake of it. And there are some who maximize on these opportunities. So, what separates founders who maximize every opportunity from those who don't?
It's the same thing, right? The ones who know how to pick an opportunity and apply it to them are the ones who will grow faster and be more successful. There are also the ones who try and go to every opportunity and try and attend every program. I don't think, they're learning anything. I think for them it's just about putting the fact that they are a part of a program. So I personally don't feel that should be the approach. At Ella itself, if we find a founder who's been part of multiple programs and then they apply to our program, we really try and assess, what is it that they've learned from the other programs? How have they applied that to their venture? And then if we feel, there is a learning or coachability component there, only then we get them into the program. So bottom line is, for all founders, there is lot of support available, but the smart ones will know how to pick and choose the right kind of support.
That is very true. But now, especially the early stage founders, I know you have the Ella Express program and there's the Ella Ascent program. Very interesting to know about the legacy program, by the way. But for the early stage entrepreneurs, what are some of the common mistakes have you observed that these founders are making?
I think early stage or later stage, it's very standard. They get so lost in their business that it's almost being blinded by love. And some of the very real things which should pop out don't pop out to them. So I always feel that any early stage founder, whenever they have an idea, the first level homework that they should always do is assess whether this idea is really worth investing in right now or not. And simple ways of assessing it is, why are you the right person to doing it? Who else is doing this right now? Are people paying enough money for this idea? What does it cost to learn something like this? So if they ask themselves very simple questions like that before they embark on a journey, it saves so much trouble afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. One of the key offerings in entrepreneurship programs is mentorship. What do you think is the ideal stage that founders should reach out for support and mentorship? Should it be something earlier that they should be investing and start building relationships with? Or if you can share like a right timeline that they should be mindful in reaching out to programs such as Ella for support from the right mentors?
So I personally feel mentorship, as we all know, it's a customized support, right? So it is about identifying gaps and then coming in there. So my suggestion would be founders should look for mentoring only at a later stage in their journey. By later stage, what I mean is they should have a certain level of product validation and customer validation in the market. They should have clarity on what does their revenue model look like, and they should have some kind of vision on what their next 1 or 2 years look like in terms of their business. If they have that clarity, then it is easier to go to a mentor and say, hey, this is what I have built, this is where I want to go. Now, to reach from here to here, these are some of the challenges that I feel I have. These are some of the questions that I feel I have, and I need help in this area. Compared to that, if you go to an early stage founder or someone at the ideation stage, most of the challenges or questions that they have would be around who their customer is going to be, customer validation, which can all be covered through standardized workshop modules and get an overall understanding of how that particular domain looks like. So, long answer short, come to a mentor when you are at a later stage in your business. You learn much more out of it.
Okay, this is very helpful, Marlena. And like entrepreneurship is definitely rewarding, but it is also a very lonely journey. So, how important do you think is the community in helping founders navigate both the highs and the lows?
I think it is very important. I What I've noticed sometimes about founders is everybody does go through those episodes of highs and lows. And when a founder is going to the low, to be honest, friends and families will have limited understanding because they have not lived that journey, right? So, but if they are part of a community where they are with other founders, then there is a similarity in some of the lows that they experience. And while someone else may not really have a solution to the lows that they're, but there is solace in the fact that someone else is going through something like this and I'm not alone. And that's why I think community plays a very, very important role. It also plays an important role because when someone's going through a journey like this, they can see how someone else came out of a similar issue and they learn from them rather than, reaching out to their friends and family. So I personally feel that community is of utmost importance in entrepreneurship, and all founders should seek, what their community looks like and be a part of that.
That is very true, Maldina. Like, community makes so much of a difference, especially when you connect with fellow founders who are also, having a similar journey and they can empathize with you. And Malina, I call you a bridge builder, but I'll also call you a community builder as well. Like, since the time I have crossed paths with you, I love the offerings that you have, right from the early stage founders to the scale up companies, for the women owned businesses. But women entrepreneurs, although they have seen significant progress in building their business, they still face unique challenges. So, from your perspective, what are some of the biggest barriers they continue to encounter today?
Um, Thankfully, in my experience, I have not seen them directly, but I have heard conversations. So I always feel that everything starts from within. And I think one of the biggest barriers that women have is themselves because they don't look at themselves as an equal in so many ways, and which is sometimes limiting in their journey. Uh, to give you a standard example, like I know so many women founders who are doing amazing in their business. They're really good speakers, they're really good at sales. However, the moment I ask them, why don't you share this success story with me that you spoke at a particular event? They would look at it as a very small feat because there were just 10 people in the room. However, compared to that, if you see a male counterpart, there could be, I'm sorry to my male friends out there. However, if they see 5 people in the room, they will still know how to talk about it in a manner as if they've spoken to 100 people. So I tell all the women entrepreneurs, you should learn to celebrate the small wins and don't sell yourself so short, like you're amazing. And you need to know that you're good and you need to talk about it. So that mindset is the biggest thing that I would put for women. I think any outside barrier can be handled if you are confident about what you're doing and if you know what you're selling. And that is my one advice to all women that I work with.
It's so true. And yes, men do that. Sorry about it, but men do exaggerate. But you know, Marlena, even in the first episode, our guest speaker, Tina Singh from Bold Helmets, also talked about imposter syndrome. And it's so true for women entrepreneurs. I've had the privilege to, consult and provide resources to so many women led businesses. And all the entrepreneurs have that imposter syndrome. And some of them, in spite of having a very good business idea, they hesitate and think that they are not ready. So, what advice would you give to those early stage women founders who question themselves and are hesitant to take important step in starting with their business idea and being ready?
I would say, believe in yourself. And I would say, look at how far you've come, where you are in your journey right now. A lot of these women founders that I have seen, they are moms, who have had two, three kids and, who are successfully managing that. They've been in good jobs, right? So look at some of the things that you've really achieved for yourself in the past, and tell yourself that I can do it. And also remember that there is no problem if you fail for whatever reason, if failure is a word, right? Sometimes the stigma of failure is so strong that women don't want to try anything because someone will very quickly tell them, oh, I told you you couldn't do it. I would say don't worry about it. Go out, do it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You've learned something. If it happens, there's more to get done, but you have to give it a shot. End of the day, don't be afraid of failure.
That is so true. And we need the confidence as well. And one more point I should say, like even when they get the compliment, it's something that even I am in a work in progress phase for this as well. And accept the compliment. So instead of getting into a shell and just saying not me, blah blah blah, be gracious to accept those compliments and thank them. Thank the people who are appreciating your efforts and appreciating the work that you're doing. So, one of my favorite questions I have for you, Marlena, like if you could create a blueprint for entrepreneurial success, what would be the essential ingredients?
Wow, that's a good one. I would say, so there are some basic things that they should have. Number one, domain expertise in whatever you are seeking to start off with. It's crucial importance, especially in today's day and age where, for example, in the past, if someone had to develop an app, someone needed to do 4 years of software engineering to be able to build an app. Now anybody can use something like Lovable and build it, right? So now it's very difficult to say, okay, I am the right person to do this, because tomorrow someone will build something better than you pretty fast using AI, right? So I think what would differentiate a successful entrepreneur would be how well do you know your particular domain, because that is something that only comes with time. So that's number one. Number two, we have been talking about it fully, but has to be an entrepreneurial mindset in terms of always looking at a solution to whatever comes your way, because problems will scale and so will solutions. So that's very important. And then number three, the right amount of intelligence to take what's coming to you from across different economic areas, from your friend circle, from your customers, and quickly being able to adapt that. And then last but not the least, being extremely flexible, because today things change so fast. Gone are the days when you could say, "Oh, this is what I built and now I'm going to scale it in a similar manner." Things will change pretty quickly, so they need to be flexible. So I would say these four areas.
Amazing nuggets of wisdom. And one last question I do have. Like, if our listeners were, they have to remember just one lesson from today's conversation, what would you like that lesson to be?
I would say before you start off anything, be sure that you are the right person to do it, and make sure that you know who is going to pay you for it, and figure out a way to make sure that they pay you for it. As long as you know these two, three things, you're good to go to get started on your own business.
Okay, that's a good one. So, Marlena, there is something new I would like to try today. It's a rapid fire, something fun I wanted to do before we wrap up the episode. You just have to say one word for the question that I ask or the statement that I make. Let's try it out. One word that describes entrepreneurship.
Resilience.
One book every entrepreneur should read.
That's a good one. Can I come back to you on this? Because there are so many. Sorry.
Okay, coffee or tea?
Tea.
I'm sure it's the Indian tea you are going to talk about.
Yes.
Morning person or night owl?
Depends on time of the day. Weekends, night owl, weekdays, morning person.
And one daily habit that has contributed most of your success.
Always believing in myself and the never say die attitude.
I love that. I love that confidence you have, Marlena. And one piece of advice for first time founders.
Believe in yourself always.
This is so good. This is wonderful, Marlena. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Especially the key takeaways that you've given is that entrepreneurship is not about proving that you can do everything on your own. You don't have to hustle alone. You have the ecosystem and the community, and they should know when to ask for help and surround yourself with the people who challenge you, support you, and genuinely want you to succeed. And as bridge builders, you are really making a lot of difference. I also would like to share with the listeners, Marlena also played a very important role as a bridge builder in my podcast journey. Our speakers, such as Tina Singh from Bold Helmets, Celine Gore from Sunday Glow Beauty, Tamara Aldeep from Nana Shake, Samantha Ong from Joey Dolls, all these introductions have been possible through Marlena. She kindly introduced me to our wonderful guest speakers, and you have listened to their episode before as well. And when I reached out to her, like these are the topics, Marlena, that I want to cover. And Marlena, with her matchmaking skills, connected me to these wonderful entrepreneurs. And I'm so grateful to you, Marlena. And now having you here as my guest in my podcast, this means a lot. And you're playing a very important role as a bridge builder. So thank you so much because of the difference you are making. And you're giving that opportunity for the entrepreneurs to learn about the wonderful resources that are available to different entrepreneurs. And one question I do have for the listeners to take back with them: who is the bridge builder in your own entrepreneur journey? Have you come across your own mentors or partners? Have you come across the right bridge builders in your entrepreneurial journey? And if you have not, maybe now it's the time that you build relationships with them. So I hope, listeners, you found this episode interesting. Please feel free to like and subscribe and also share your comments. The recording is available on YouTube and Spotify. And if you resonate with this episode, please share with your fellow entrepreneurs. And definitely, if you're a woman entrepreneur looking for right resources, feel free to connect with Marlena on LinkedIn. We will share her details and the website of the Ella program. Marlena is a wonderful bridge builder, a very good human being, and I'm very glad to have crossed paths with her and have her here in the Business Blueprint podcast. Thank you so much, Marlena. And listeners, keep building, keep creating your business blueprint, and I will see you soon in the finale episode. Thank you.